Dividing by zero is one of the first times in maths where you're taught an equation that has no answer, meaning that the result has no value. And this doesn't mean zero, it literally means that we cannot assign any number to it, hence we call it undefined. However, many people have misconceptions about this. The least familiar with it would likely say that it equals zero, which it does not, and someone a little more familiar with maths might say it equals infinity, which is again wrong. This is likely because it's one of the first taught instances where maths might go against one's intuition. It just doesn't look right. How can doing something so simple as taking the valueless number and dividing something by it create such a hole in the subject? Well, allow me some time to explain this scenario a little more thoroughly, and hopefully we can come out of this understanding the principles behind what's going on a little bit better. We'll be starting with a visual idea on why it doesn't equal infinity, and then I'll move on to a more logical reasoning. Finally, I'll end on a more concrete algebraic proof to set in stone why this does not work. The infinity misconception most likely comes from the graph of 1 over x, or anything over x really, which takes a rather odd shape. As we can see, it gets really close to both axes, but never meets them. If we start looking up the axes, as x gets closer and closer to 0, the y value skyrockets. And this happens forever, there's always a smaller number to divide by. As a result, some people might, by a seemingly small change of wording but with a big implication, say, oh, alright then, at 0, y will equal infinity. This is not right. On a basic level, let's look up the graph. We can keep going and going and it's never going to stop, never. But how can we say it will go on forever if we can't see the end? We only know the start position. The thing about infinity is that it doesn't stop, so there's no end to see. Now obviously with intuition we know it won't stop, but can we really treat infinity as a final destination or really just the way we treat a number? Well, no, we can't. Infinity is not to be treated as a regular number. We can look at it like this. What's infinity minus infinity? Is it 0 if we're treating it like a regular number, or is it still infinity if we're going with the concept that it's just forever? What's forever minus forever? Well, I don't know. We can't do this. Infinity's a concept. Treating it like a hard value will just break down its own arithmetic and everything around it. As a result, we can't really say that x equals 0, or just dividing by 0, y equals infinity, because that goes against the very number system we're using for these coordinates. Some astute people might point out that in the negative axis we can see something similar, where as x again tends to 0 but this time in the opposite direction, it gets infinitely lower. This is the same principle. We can look at the previous argument to see why this doesn't work so well, but another one arises with the dividing by 0 equals both infinity and negative infinity answer. 1 over x is a function, defined by a calculation that takes an input and produces an output. Take something simple, like y equals x plus 1. You take an input, x, add 1 to it, and the output's y. So like, if you get 2, add 1, 3. So you get the coordinate 2, 3. The important thing here is that it's a one-to-one function. While you can get many-to-one functions, or many-to-many, or even one-to-many, 1 over x is distinctly a one-to-one function. So without 0 it equals both infinity and negative infinity. How could it be a one-to-one function? That's two separate values, so it just couldn't work. If you aren't satisfied by these arguments, honestly I'd understand, as maths inherently can't be determined using intuition like this when it comes to these topics, so arguing using the same tools might not be suitable either. However though, we do have a proof. We can prove that 1 divided by 0 does not work algebraically, in any case. Take the equation x equals a over b. We can rearrange this and get xb equals a by multiplying by b on both sides. So with this, let's say a equals 1 and b equals 0. To get x equals 1 over 0, our equation. By going to our bx equals a equation, we get the answer 0 equals 1. Right, something's gone wrong, that's clearly wrong. Multiplying by 0 gives the answer that one number equals another. With this we could just as easily say 0 equals 2, or 1 equals 2, or anything. As a result, we can clearly see that this equation doesn't work. So we must call dividing by 0 undefined, because we cannot assign any value to it. And that's why dividing by 0 is not infinity, or even considered a number. Thanks for watching to the end. Hope you found that one interesting and insightful about 1 divided by 0. if you did find the video helpful or interesting or anything, if you could leave a like, I'd really appreciate it, because this channel's pretty small and helping me grow it would be really cool actually. And if you want to see some more weird math stuff in the future or anything, you can subscribe, turn the bell on, blah blah blah. I mean, you know how this works. I'll see you later then. Bye.